Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. We are going to be working into a little bit more of a heated flow. And so let's begin in a wide-legged child's pose towards the back end of the mat. The knees as wide as the mat, big toes touching, or alternative option is to bring the heels behind the knees in line with the knees. And then gently drop the hips down between the thighs. Extend the arms away from you. Slowly bring the forehead down to the floor. And just begin to connect or reconnect with your breath. Notice the sensations that you're experiencing in your body. Notice whether you can equalize the inhalations with the exhalations. Driving the breath into any parts of the body that are feeling maybe a little bit of tension today. Notice what's happening with your mind. Maybe you can use the breath to calm the mind a little bit. Invite a little bit of peace and serenity into your practice. Noticing if maybe you can relax the fingertips and the arms a little bit. Relax the shoulders, the forehead. Allow the belly to hang heavy between the thighs. Taking a deep inhalation through the nose. Feeling the entire body expanding. And then exhaling through the mouth. Inhaling again through the nose. Feeling the ribs separating from one another, feeling the belly pressing towards the inner thighs. Feeling the back of the heart rising. And then exhaling through the mouth with control, slowly. One more like this, inhaling through the nose. Expanding the entire backside, front side, allowing the hips to melt closer towards the heels. And then exhaling through the mouth. Excuse me. Continue with that exhalation through the mouth. And then begin to gently constrict the back of the throat, starting to invite the Ujjayi breath into the practice. Focusing again on equalizing the inhalations with the exhalations. And as you're working with your breath, relaxing the body, relaxing the mind, notice what's one of the first things that comes up right now. This can be a few words, a feeling, one word, whatever it is that comes to mind. Try to make that your intention for today's practice without really thinking about it too much, without judging it. Just notice if maybe you can ride the wave of whatever it is that your body, your mind is trying to speak to you. Take one more deep inhalation here through the nose. And as you exhale through the nose, gently lift the head, press the palms into the floor. Begin to roll yourself forward in cat, bringing the shoulders in line with the wrists. As you get towards the front of the mat, gently begin to arch the spine, slowly pressing yourself back towards child's pose. Moving with your breath here. Inhaling, shifting the weight forward. And exhaling, arching the spine, gently pressing yourself towards the back of the mat. Two more like this. Inhaling, pressing yourself forward, rounding through the spine. As you exhale, drop the chest and slowly press yourself towards the back of the mat. One more. Inhale. Exhale, gazing forward, pressing yourself towards the back. This time, as you make your way towards the top of the mat, bring your knees underneath your hips, coming into a tabletop position. Readjust yourself, and then continue with movements. These can be the traditional linear cat-cow movements, connecting them with your breath. You can begin to incorporate other movements as well, maybe swaying the hips from side to side, dropping the head, moving the head from side to side. Whichever movements you're choosing, whichever movements the body is choosing today, make sure that the breath is guiding these movements. A few more breaths here. Then coming into a neutral spine, flip your hands so that your fingertips are facing the back of the mat towards your knees. Spread the fingertips, really press the fingers into the floor. Begin to grip the mat here. This can be enough for you. If you'd like to try to go a bit deeper, you can walk the knees a tiny bit further forward and then tuck the toes behind you, and then just begin to incorporate a bit of movement back to front, stretching the wrists, making sure you're really gripping the mat with your fingertips here. If you'd like to invite movements of the spine, roll yourself forward, maybe bringing the shoulders a little bit in front of the wrists, and then gently pressing your sitting bones down towards your heels. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. One more. Inhale wherever you are. As you exhale, coming back into a neutral spine, rotate the wrists. And then bringing the shoulders in line with the wrists. Stay active in the belly. Begin to lift the palms off of the floor, pressing the fingertips into the floor. Drop the hands, lift them up. Coordinate the movement again with your breath. We're really warming up into the wrists and the forearms here. We're also teaching ourselves to use the strength of our fingers to distribute the weight in our hands. Oftentimes we end up pressing a lot into the palm and then the wrist takes most of the weight. But in any of these poses that we're doing, whether it's down dog, arm balances, anything that requires putting weight on the hands, we really want to make sure that we're engaging the entirety of the arm from the fingertips through to the scapula. 5 more, maybe moving a little bit faster. And then bring your weight into your heels. Just rotate your wrists around a little bit. Bring your hands back into tabletop position, gripping the mat with your fingertips. Extend the right leg away from you. Take an inhalation, gaze forward. Flex through the right foot, As you exhale, begin to bring the right foot over towards the right side in line with your hip or maybe a bit higher. Make sure all of your weight isn't shifting towards the left. Bring the right leg back behind you, gaze forward. Hips are squared. Exhale, round through the spine, knee to nose. Inhale, extend the right leg, flex the toes, press the heel away from you. Opening the hip, bringing the right leg over towards the right side, keeping the right leg extended. Bring the right leg back behind you. Gently drop the belly, gaze forward. Exhale, rounding through the spine, knee to nose. Inhale, extend. Flex the foot. Tuck the left toes. And then in a one strong movement, begin to extend the left leg, coming into a three-legged downward facing dog with the right leg overhead. Bend into the right knee. Begin to bring the right heel down towards the left glute, opening up through the hips. You can choose to keep the shoulders squared here or begin to open the chest, corkscrew the chest over towards the right side. Incorporate some movements here into the ankle, into the toes. Inhale as you gaze forward, square off the hips, drop the right hip down, keep that right leg bent, shift the weight forward, bring the right knee towards your right tricep. Inhale, bringing the right leg back, extending through the right leg, keeping the hips squared, bend into the right knee, open the right hip. Inhale, come back through center, keeping that right leg bent, flex through the right toes, elevate the left heel, bringing the right knee towards the right tricep. Stay here, puff up the back of the heart, gaze into the space between your fingertips. As you exhale with control, drop the right foot to the outside of your right hand. Bring the left knee down onto the floor. Stay here for the inhalation, pressing the hips down, keeping the right knee glued to your right shoulder. Exhale. Continue here or bring the weight to the outside of your right foot, bringing your right hand to the inside of your right thigh, coming into a twist, gazing back behind you. Take an inhalation here. Exhale, slowly bring the right toe back onto the floor. If they're not already there, bring the right hand down onto the floor inside of your right foot. Elevate the back knee. Shift your weight towards the back. Keep pressing the right big toe firmly into the floor. Press yourself forward. Extend the left leg towards the left side. With control, bringing the left foot to the outside of the left hand, bending into both knees, coming into Malasana. Gathering the hands in front of the heart, pressing the elbows into the inner thighs. Spine is long. Pull the tailbone down towards the floor. Inhale. Exhale, drop the left hand to the inside of the left thigh. Left fingertips as an extension of the left toes. Extend the right arm overhead. Make sure you're still pressing the right knee away from you, keeping that openness in the hips. Press the entire right foot and left foot actually into the floor. Stay here with the arm extended. If you'd like to go a bit further, begin to bind the hands together around your left thigh. Make sure you're not closing off the right shoulder. Keep pulling the right shoulder towards the back of the mat, creating an even greater twist here. Another deep inhalation. Exhale, slowly unwind, bringing the hands again towards heart center, elongating the spine. Bring the hands down onto the floor. Pivot the toes so that feet are parallel now as you begin to lift the hips away from you, away from the mat. The feet are parallel, as wide as the mat or hips width distance. As you inhale, gaze forward. Exhale, micro bend into the knees, drop the head down towards the floor. Inhale, elongate the spine, gaze forward. Exhale, micro bend the knees, drop the head towards the floor. Inhale, elongate the spine, activate the quadriceps, gaze forward. Exhale, micro bend the knees, drop the head down towards the floor. Press the hands into the floor. Slowly walk the feet towards the back of the mat, coming into plank pose. Shift the weight towards the front, bend into both elbows at the same time. As you inhale, coming into up dog. Exhale, drop the knees. Return back into tabletop. Press the right knee into the floor. As you inhale, extend the left leg, gaze forward. Flex through the left toes. Open the left hip. Bring the left foot out towards the left side. Bring the left leg back behind you. Elevate the left heel just a little bit more as you exhale, round through the spine, left knee to nose. Inhale, extend the left leg, flex the left foot, open the left hip, bring the left leg out towards the left side in line with your left hip. Slowly bring the left leg towards the back, raising the heel a bit more, gazing forward. Exhale, rounding through the spine, knee to nose. Extend the left leg, flex the toes, tuck the right toes, and then with the inhalation, begin to extend the right leg, coming into a three-legged downward facing dog with the left leg extended. Right away, bend into the left knee, bring the left heel towards the right glute. Begin to open up your entire left side body, either squaring the shoulders or maybe even coming up onto the left fingertips here. Begin to invite movements into your left ankle, your left toes. Inhale, square off the hips, drop the left hip down, gaze forward, raise the left heel. And then as you exhale, bring the left knee towards your left tricep, shifting forward. Inhale, extend, this time extending the right leg. Bend into the left leg, bend into the left knee, open the left hip. Bringing the hips back in line with one another, shifting the weight into the front of the mat towards your hands. Bring the left knee towards your tricep. Flex through the left toes. With control, drop the left foot to the outside of your left hand. Bring the right knee down onto the floor. Stay here for the inhalation, pressing the hips towards the mat, pressing the heart forward. As you exhale, option 2, come onto the outside of your left foot, bringing the left hand to the inside of your left thigh, creating a deeper twist here, working right into the hips. Gazing back behind you. Keep pressing yourself away from the mat, opening the chest. One more inhalation. And then as you exhale, bring the left hand down onto the floor. If it's not already there, bring the left toes back onto the floor. Right knee comes off of the floor. Shift the weight towards the back of the mat. Really keep pressing the left big toe into the floor. Gaze forward. And then pop yourself towards the front of the mat. Bringing the right leg with control in line with your right hip. Dropping the right foot to the outside of your right hand. Bending into both knees, coming into Malasana here. Press the elbows into the inner thighs. Elongate the spine. Inhale deeply through the nose. Exhale. Option to stay here, or other option is to extend the right arm away from the right toes, arm inside of your right thigh, and then extend your left arm overhead. If you're extending your left arm, make sure to keep pressing the left knee away from the center. Gaze towards your left fingertips. Stay here or interlace the hands behind the right leg. And then begin to gaze towards the back of the mat. Take a deep inhalation, pull the shoulder blades in towards one another. Keep pressing the sitting bones down towards the floor. Spine is long. Exhale, slowly unwind. Gathering the hands again in front of your heart. Bring the hands down towards the floor in front of you, maybe just on your fingertips. Begin to extend the legs. Pivot the toes so that they are parallel to one another. Inhale, elongate the spine, gaze forward. Exhale, micro bend into the knees, bringing the weight into your toes a little bit more, and then drop the head towards the floor. Inhale, extend everything. Activate the quadriceps, gaze forward. Exhale again, dropping the head towards the floor, shifting the weight a little bit more into your toes. One more like this. Inhale. And exhale. Drop the hands onto the floor with control. Bring yourself through a chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, raise the right leg. Keeping the right leg super straight. Activate through the right toes. This can be a flex or a point or a demi point, which would just be kind of an in-between. So the toes would be flexed, but the rest of the foot is quite pointed. And then rotate the right hip open, keeping the leg super straight. Gaze forward. Bring your left heel off of the floor. Keeping that right leg as is, begin to move the right leg over towards the right side. With control, bring the right toes to tap your right wrist. Slowly extend the right leg back towards the sky, coming into a three-legged dog. Exhale, gaze forward, bring the left heel up with control, keeping that right leg super, super straight. Begin to bring the right toes towards your right wrist. One more like this, extend the right leg. Exhale, raise the left heel, gaze forward, slowly and with control. Bring the right toes to hover near the right wrist, and then drop the right foot on the outside of your right hand. Immediately press the left foot a little bit further away from you. Option to stay here in this version of lizard pose with the back knee up. Option to come down onto your forearms. Keeping the right toes onto the floor. Keeping the right knee close to you. Option to stay here or stay on your forearms, drop the back knee, and then begin to open the right hip, gazing back behind you. If you feel like your right shoulder's not able to open, you can't really open your chest because of your left forearm on the floor, then just bring your left hand onto the floor, elevate yourself a little bit, and then come into your twist. So whichever variation you're in, try to stay there for a few breaths. Creating a little bit of stillness, coming back to that intention that came to you on its own voluntarily at the beginning of your practice. Wherever you are, slowly come back onto your hands. Bring the right toes back onto the floor. Bring the back knee off of the floor. Extend the right arm underneath your right knee. Extend the left arm away from you. So coming into kind of this airplane flying lizard. Option to stay here with the fingertips on the floor, or other option is to interlace your hands onto your sacrum. Inhale through the nose. As you exhale, keeping that bend in the knee, pivot the back foot so that you're now immediately coming into a bound side angle pose. So if your hands are extended away from you, then bring your right hand to the inside of your right foot, extend the left arm overhead. Alternatively, transition from the twisted lizard into a bound side angle. Take a deep breath, gaze up, bend into that right knee. As you exhale, release the arms, straighten into the right foot, flex the right toes, drop the left hand towards your left thigh or left calf. It's weightless on your leg as you extend the right arm. Inhale slowly, shifting your weight forward, bringing the right hand to the inside of the right foot, left hand to the inside of the right foot. Pivot onto the left toes. Bring the weight to the outside of your left foot, coming into a side plank position. Maybe you bring your hand to your knee. Take an inhalation, really press the left foot firmly into the floor to elevate the hips. And then as you exhale with control, drop the right foot back behind you. Bring the hips to hover onto the floor. Guard your face with your hand. And then as you inhale, use the strength of your feet to bring the hips up, coming into Wild Thing. Take an inhalation here. Feel the entire right side expanding. As you exhale, slowly bring your right hand down onto the floor. Pivot your back foot. Right knee is still up. Bring the right forearm down onto the floor. Extend the right leg away from you. Forearm plank, kind of fallen triangle forearm plank on the right side. Left arm extends. Deep inhalation. Exhale, slowly bring your left forearm down onto the floor, coming into a forearm plank. Gaze forward. Inhale. And then exhale, walk your feet towards the front, coming into dolphin. Keep gazing at your thumbs. Bend into the knees as much as you need to. Keep elevating the hips. Grip the mat with your fingertips. Press yourself away from the floor. Inhale. Exhale, slowly and with control, drop the knees down onto the floor. Untuck the back toes. Bring yourself into a seated position, allowing the arms to rest on top of your thighs, or maybe bringing your hands towards your heart center. And just notice your breath. Notice the beating of your heart. Notice whether you can regain control of your breath, equalizing the inhalations with the exhalations. One more inhalation here. As you exhale, gently blink the eyes open, shift your hands forward, tuck the back toes, returning back into that downward facing dog. Inhale, raise the left leg. Come into whatever activation you did on the other side with your left foot. Open the left hip, gaze forward, press into the hands, elevate the back heel, and then slowly bring the left toes to hover, touching your left wrist. Extending the left leg back overhead. You can do this in kind of these rainbow arches. So as you lift the right heel, you bring the left leg in line with the hip, and then slowly you begin to drop the left toes towards the wrist. One more like this, bringing the leg back. And then exhale, bring the back heel off of the floor, gaze forward. Arch the foot towards the front. And then drop the foot out on the outside of the left hand with control. Back the right foot up. And then come into this lizard with the back knee off of the floor, left knee glued to your left shoulder. Second option is to bring the forearms down. Again, allowing the toes to really press into the floor, pointing the toes forward. Arms are parallel to one another. Option to stay here or drop the back knee down onto the floor, coming onto the outside of the left foot, pressing the left hand to the inside of the left thigh. Again, if the left shoulder is closing off, then I recommend coming up onto your right fingertips or right hand, and then begin to come into your twist, if that's the variation that you're choosing. Pull the shoulders away from the ears. Pull the shoulder blades in towards one another if you're in a twist. If you're on your forearms, then actually separate the shoulder blades a little bit more. Pull the chest in closer. Take another inhalation through the nose. As you exhale, bring the left toes back onto the floor if they're not already there. Bring the hands onto the floor, raise the back knee. And then begin to shift your left shoulder underneath your left knee. Extend the arms away from you, coming into this flying lizard variation. staying here, or interlacing the arms, bringing the hands together at your lower back. Excuse me. Keep pressing that back heel away from you. Really, legs are so strong. They're your base here. The points of contact are your right toes and your entire left foot. Slowly begin to shift the entire right foot onto the floor, coming into a bound side angle pose. So if you had the bind, then just transition, shifting the right shoulder up. If you had the arms extended, bring the left hand to the inside of your left foot, extend the right arm overhead. Wherever you are, try to find some stillness. Try to really bring the right shoulder open towards the top. Extend that back leg, active in the legs. Pull the tailbone slightly down. One more inhalation. As you exhale, use the power of the breath to straighten through the left leg. Flex the left toes, drop the right hand towards the right calf or right thigh, extending the left arm behind you. Pull the shoulders away from the ears. Inhale, slowly shift the weight again forward, rebending into that left knee. Bring the hands to the inside of your left foot. Immediately begin to shift the weight into the entirety of the right foot, coming into a side angle, a side plank rather. And here you can work towards bending into the left knee, maybe bringing your hand to your left knee, and then really opening the thigh a little bit more, pulling the left knee rather up. Press into your points of contact to elevate the hips, creating an even bigger arch. With control, release the knee if you're holding it. Drop the left foot back behind you. Bring the hips down to hover, guarding the face with your left hand. And then as you inhale, use the strength of your feet to press yourself up into Wild Thing. Another inhalation here. As you exhale, pivot the entirety of your body, bringing the left forearm down onto the floor. Bring the weight to the inside now of the right foot. Extend the left leg away from you, allowing the left foot to hover if possible. Inhale. Exhale, twist the body. Come into a forearm plank. Take a deep inhalation. Reconnect with your breath. Press yourself away from the floor. As you exhale, begin to walk the feet towards the front, coming into dolphin pose. Inhale. Exhale with control, dropping the knees down onto the floor, untucking the toes, and returning into a comfortable seated position, bringing your hands again towards the tops of your thighs or into your heart center. Connecting with the beat of your heart, connecting with your breath. Returning back to the intention that voluntarily came to you at the beginning of practice. Noticing if it's still something that's there, something that has this strong hold on you. Whether it's something that you can just let go of with your breath. And with the next inhalation, gently blink the eyes open. Bring your hands back onto the floor. Tuck the back toes, coming back into that downward facing dog position. Press the left foot into the floor, grip the floor with your hands, extend the right leg, flex through the right foot, open the right hip, shift onto the left toes. As you shift the weight forward, slowly and with control, bring the right toes to hover next to your wrist. Then with control, drop the right foot in between your hands. Bend into that right knee as you inhale, coming into crescent lunge. Maybe you micro bend into the left knee to bring the left hip forward a little bit. Gaze forward, inhale. Exhale, bring your hands through heart center, bringing the left elbow to the outside of the right thigh, coming into a twist, gazing back behind you. Dropping the right elbow. Inhale, coming back through center, extending the arms. Exhale, pivoting the back foot, coming into goddess pose, extending the arms away from you. Inhale here, opening the chest. Exhale, bring all of that energy into your heart center as you rebend into the knees a little bit deeper. Inhale, extend the legs. Exhale, pivot the back foot, extend the arms, pivot your weight forward, coming into triangle pose on the right. Gaze towards your left fingertips. Shoulders in line with the hips, active in the legs. A deep inhalation. Exhale, bring the left hand down to the inside of your right foot. Pivot the weight into your hands. Bring the back foot a little bit close back behind you. Bring your right leg to the right side. Immediately interlace the arms. Take a deep inhalation. Exhale, pivot onto that back leg. And then gaze a little bit out in front of you. Step the left foot forward. Feet are in line with one another. High up onto the right toes with control. Bringing the right leg up, coming into bird of paradise. So the arms are bound behind you. You can stay with the right knee bent, or you can begin to extend the right leg away from you. Chest is open. Pull the shoulder blades in towards one another. Inhale. Exhale slowly and with control. Begin to drop the right foot down onto the floor. Walk the right foot out towards the right, left foot out towards the left. Interlace the hands by your heart. Your knees are about 90 degrees. Torso is parallel with the floor. Bring your shoulders to the inside of your knees. Bring your hands back behind your feet. Shift the weight into your hands. Gaze forward. First step is to interlace your toes rather. This will help you. You'll kind of create a small ball shape here, so it'll help with the balancing on the arms. And then option to just stay here. Notice what this feels like. If you feel like you're falling out of the pose, that's totally fine. Work your way back into it. We're creating muscle memory. We're really working through the scapula here to keep yourself elevated. Inhale. Exhale, with control, drop the feet back onto the floor. Press yourself forward. Bring your hands in front of your heart, coming back into that kind of half squat. Inhale, bring the arms overhead, feet parallel. Gaze up. Exhale, bring the hands towards your lower back, pressing the hips forward, coming into a small back bend. Elbows in towards one another. Inhale, coming all the way back up. Exhale, bring your hands to your big toes. So your first finger, the pointer finger, and the middle finger interlace on your big toe. Elongate the spine. The feet are quite wide. Micro bend into the knees. And then as you exhale, pull yourself down towards the floor with your hands. Activate your Uddiyana Bandha here. Pull the navel in. This will help you bend from your hips, keeping a straight spine. Inhale, Gaze forward, release the hands out in front of you. And then as you exhale, jump back through Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Keep the spine long. Keep pressing your hands into the floor. Shift the weight into the right foot. Bring the left leg overhead, opening the left hip. Gaze forward, elongate. Come highest onto the right toes. Shift the left foot towards your left wrist. And then drop the left foot in between your hands. With control, come into crescent lunge. Maybe you micro bend into that back knee in order to press the right hip further forward. Gather the lower belly, pull the lower belly in. Keep extending the arms. Bring the hands together in front of your heart. Rebend a little bit more into that left knee. Hook the right elbow to the outside of the left thigh. Gazing back behind you. Drop the left elbow. The legs are strong. Keep pressing the right heel away from you. Inhale, coming back up. Extend the arms. As you exhale, pivot the right foot, opening the arms away from you, bending into the knees, coming into goddess pose. Pull the shoulder blades in towards one another, opening the chest. Inhale. Take all of that energy, bring it together in front of your heart as you bend into the knees a bit more. Exhale, extend the legs. Pivot the back foot. Extend the arms away from you, shifting the weight from your hips forward, bringing your left hand towards the floor to come into triangle pose. The left hand is weightless. We're extending, in this case, the entire right side body and using the core and the strength of the legs to keep us up and open. Gaze towards your right fingertips. Inhale. Exhaling the left hand to the inside of your left foot, right hand to the inside. Pivot onto the back toes. Walk the left foot a little bit towards the left. Immediately coming into that bound lizard. Take an inhalation. As you exhale, pivot the back foot just to use the back foot to push yourself forward a little bit more. So walk the right foot towards the front of the mat. Bring the left heel up, gaze forward, finding your balance here. Press the right foot firmly into the floor as you begin to raise the left leg. If you fall out of the pose at any point, it's totally fine. Just come back into it. It's supposed to be fun. And then little by little, begin to extend the left leg. Inhale. Exhale with control, dropping the left foot down towards the floor. Walking the feet towards the outside of the mat. Bringing your hands together in front of your heart, coming into that kind of half squat pose. So dropping the hips a bit, keeping the arms in line with your heart. Bring your shoulders to the inside of your knees, and then bring your hands behind your feet. Create kind of a shelf with your elbows here, and then begin to rest your legs on the shelf that you've created. So, option to return back into that bound position. So what you can do in that case is just change the bind. So if you had your left foot on top before, now bring your right foot on top. Other option is to come into Firefly, Titibhasana. So this is going to look different for different people. It really depends on the flexibility of your hamstrings as well, and how much you're able to compress your shoulders. We've been working on a lot of shoulder compression throughout this class, and the body is probably quite warm. So if it's uncomfortable for you to enter that pose from this kind of elevated squat, then what you can do is come sit down on the mat, bring your hands down onto the floor, bring your knees over top of your elbows, Round through the spine a little bit, and then press yourself forward. What you can do here too to create it a little bit more of easier momentum is interlace those feet and then press yourself forward. For me, that's a little bit harder to do. Then my feet end up touching the floor. But you have to kind of practice with what's easiest in terms of entrance for you. And also don't worry if the wrists are feeling like a little bit of tension because it's very normal. We're putting a lot of weight onto the wrists. If you feel something that is like very alarming, then just back off and relax the wrists a little bit. But either way, returning back into Titibhasana for a few breaths. Really push the inner thighs towards one another so that you're really using the strength of your legs to keep them up. And then one by one, rebend into those knees, returning back into Malasana. What you can do now is really just work into the wrists a little bit. Bring the hands out in front of you. Walk the feet towards the back of the mat, shifting the weight forward, coming through Chaturanga. Inhaling, upward facing dog. Dropping the knees. And exhaling, bringing yourself into that comfortable seated position, hands resting on your thighs or again at your heart center. Returning once again to the intention that came to you at the beginning of practice. Taking the time here to really connect with the sensations of your body through your breath. Noticing if there's any tension in the forehead, in the space between the eyebrows, in the jaw, in the shoulders or neck. Noticing if maybe you keep pulling the belly kind of in, and if that is a habitual move that you've just kind of done forever. Maybe you can create a little bit of space there. Just allow the belly to drop. Notice what that feels like. Notice what it feels like to direct the breath into your belly, allowing the belly to expand even further, creating this balloon shape. And then either staying here or slowly transitioning into a more traditional Shavasana, allowing the legs and arms to extend away from the body and take up as much space as they possibly can. Noticing how whichever parts of your body that are connecting with the floor, how that feels. How the clothing feels touching your body. Slowly scanning your body and relaxing everything from your toes to your fingertips to the crown of the head. I invite you to stay here as long as you possibly can. And thank you so much for practicing with me. I will see you next time.